This month in Outer Banks history, the Oregon Inlet Ferry ran for the very last time. By the early 20th century, interest in tourism and commercial fishing on Hatteras Island had grown substantially. With the advent of the automobile in the 1910s, Hatteras Island residents began purchasing cars and having them shipped by barge. However, it soon became clear that neither the island's local residents nor the vacationers and visiting fishermen had a way to travel between Hatteras and Roanoke Islands, which were separated by Oregon Inlet and only accessible by boat. The first ferry service across Oregon Inlet began in 1924 under the command of Collington resident Captain Jack Nelson, who tied a barge to the back of his fishing boat to ferry passengers across 2 cars at a time. After several months, Nelson grew tired of the difficulty involved in loading cars onto the barge in the inlet's rough waters and transferred the ferry operations to Toby Tillett, a captain out of Wanchese whose name would eventually become synonymous with ferry service on the Outer Banks. Tillett had a new ferry built, which he named the Oregon Inlet. This ferry was 45 feet long and could only carry 2 cars at a time. Originally, the ferry didn't run a regular service. Instead, Tillett stationed himself on the north side of the inlet and installed a flagpole on the south side, which drivers would use to hoist a flag alerting Tillett to retrieve them when they arrived at the ferry dock. By 1928, a regular ferry service was required, and Tillett began making 7 trips a day across the inlet to Hatteras Island. In 1931, Captain Tillett built a second ferry, the Barcelona, that could carry 14 cars at a time. When the Oregon Inlet was lost to a hurricane in 1932, Tillett replaced it with a 10-car ferry dubbed the New Inlet and often ran both ferries at once on busy days. Tillett charged $2 per car for his ferry service, but by 1941, the state began to subsidize the ferry in order to make it toll-free. In the ferry's first 25 years of operations, Captain Tillett's ferry was only closed 15 days total and never lost a single car overboard. The North Carolina Ferry Division was established in 1947, and Tillett's ferry was bought out in 1950. Traffic to Hatteras Island exploded over the next decade, and by 1961, the situation had become untenable, with lines 60 cars deep, sometimes waiting 5 to 6 hours for a spot on the ferry. A campaign was launched to erect a bridge over the inlet, and the Herbert C. Bonner Bridge was dedicated in November 1963. The new bridge brought to a close 4 decades of ferry service across Oregon Inlet and ushered in a new era of efficient transportation on the Outer Banks. For more information on the Oregon Inlet Ferry or any other topic in Eastern North Carolina history, come visit us at the Outer Banks History Center. We're located at Roanoke Island Festival Park across from the downtown Mania waterfront.